Greetings, greetings. It's time to go in on Granny McCrae and get serious for just a moment because we're always on that bullshit over here on Kojic McCrae. But I received a message from one of Granny's Skabala soldiers telling me that I'm going to hell basically because I'm exposing the saints. See that right there? Let's get into that. When you say expose, so if you're a so-called saint, why are you doing things that is going to be exposed? The only thing we do and I do is post videos of what Granny said and put a caption on it. So when you say I'm exposing, it's like there's nothing to be exposed because Granny puts it out there. And also the fact that you think this is a saint, that shows that you know nothing about sanctification, you know nothing about holiness. You are wrapped up in some kind of church that has a history that stems from slavery, and you think that that's holiness in the church and jumping around acting a fool. That's not holiness. I'm sorry. That is black culture. And that church, that Kojic organization is full of black culture and very little to do with God. And I'm not saying that culture is wrong, but that church right there has has flaws. Has just like every other church, but that church has deep rooted flaws. And that's why there's so many people like Granny and Andrew Caldwell that feel so comfortable switching and strolling into that church and doing ungodly things because that church does not have any type of God or spirituality or holiness in it, just culture. See, there's nothing wrong with culture, but when you let your culture lead you and not your spirit, then that's where there's a problem. And that's why that Kojic church has so many issues. And Granny constantly exposing people, constantly on the blog. I've seen a lot of things that I've never wanted to see with these pastors and sexting. Like this is to me was unheard of. I didn't grow up in the church, especially not that I didn't grow up in that kind of environment. So this is new to me. But the fact that there is so much corruption in the church tells me that there is nothing holy in that church. And all the things Granny was saying about taking pills and fighting after service on over there on Citadel tells me that Citadel and other churches like that ain't got no type of holiness. Because if you were a saint, what you doing fighting after church and taking drugs during the church service? So there is nothing I'm exposing. Granny exposes herself. And also, you Kabbalah soldiers really need to look at what you're supporting. Because if you claim to be people of God, you support this Grinch, transsexual, homeless, wannabe blogger who lives at the extended stay over there on Peachtree, sitting on a air conditioning unit, gossiping, wearing all those hot clothes with a hat on. Who wears a hat in the house for one thing? Granny does that because she's trying to keep up an image and she doesn't want to remove the hat, so because she doesn't want us to see her lace line or whatever. Granny talks about having designer clothes and being so rich in designer bags, but that just shows and verifies Granny's poverty because poverty screams and wealth whispers. And Granny definitely does not have any wealth or intelligence or anything. She just has a grandiose persona and a lie. She lies. She pretends to be something she's not. She's trying to pretend to be wealthy and up there and important. That goes along with her grandiose view of herself. She's a church queen who has to be seen, who has to be the center of attention, and we kind of do give her a ego boost because she feels like that she well because her mind is so outdated. She thinks that we are some type of group with all this deep technology and we follow her, and that's how we find out when she's live. She doesn't realize anything about the digital era and technology and internet, social media. She doesn't know anything about this. She has a broke and outdated mindset, which really proves her age. She's nowhere near 30. 30-year-olds are not are most 30-year-olds have some type of knowledge when it comes to being tech savvy. Granny isn't tech savvy at all. She's very outdated. She's very grandmotherly. She's very elderly. I would say Granny is around 50 something. Chronologically, I would say Granny's 70 because she behaves like somebody's elderly black grandmother. But anyways, yes, Granny exposes herself almost daily. She constantly talks about black gay this, black. She knows so much about like black and gay men, that shows that she's a member of that group, because only members would know the things that she knows. Like, she was just saying something about how they treat each other badly, and it's like, Granny, you constantly talk about them because you're a part of that group and you hate it. And maybe you're hiding it because you think you won't get support from that church group, but it's like, Granny, you are clearly a part of that community, and you need to admit it. Because, Granny, nobody over here is stupid. Only people that believe your bullshit are the people that attend your church and in that culture and in that lifestyle. But the rest of us outside of the Kojic world, we see a very effeminate, a borderline transgendered elderly person who's pretending to be something she's not. And so you can run and tell that to your Kabbalah soldiers, and so that they can maybe get themselves right, because they think that they're going to heaven. They have a way another thing coming.